Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Little Pony Make Your Mark, episode 4. So, last time we had Princess Day, and it was a great episode for Pip and Zip, kind of showcasing their just relationship together, as well as even showing some more of the Queen singing a rock ballad. It set up some stuff for the future as well, so we're going to kind of have to see where that continues to go. And I believe this makes it about halfway through the season. Let me just double check, because I believe, the season, this batch of episodes is more accurate. Because there's going to be more episodes in the season. They just released 8 episodes. I don't know why. I really don't know why they only released 8. Like, that just seems like a really weird amount. Like, 10 I could understand, but why 8? Maybe they wanted to test the waters? I don't know. But either way, I've been really enjoying this this series so far. But I want to touch on something. There's not really much else I need to talk about from the past episode or anything. And I don't know what's going to happen next, so nothing to really talk about going forward. But I do want to touch on something for the fandom, because this is something I've been noticing a lot lately on social media. I want to make things clear here. If you're not interested in Generation 5, if you just genuinely don't like it, that's fine. That's completely fine. You're allowed to not like it. You're allowed to think it's you're allowed to think it's lesser or weaker than Generation 4 was. But just don't take that too far. And this goes for pretty much any fandom. I've been seeing a lot of people just really trying to hammer in the idea that this is objectively bad. And this has been a thing that goes for pretty much everything. Again, pretty much every fandom, every big piece of media, whether it's a show, a movie, etc. There are those people who will just try to paint something as objectively bad and basically try to shame you for liking it. And try to act and try to treat things as if their opinion is the only one that matters. This is very common when it comes to stuff like, say, the MCU currently. There's a lot of people who will say this kind of stuff in regards to the current phase 4. Will act like their opinion that it's bad and that it's terrible and that it's a downgrade from previous MCU is the only opinion that matters. And that anyone trying to say otherwise has no taste, are stupid, or are just, oblivious to good writing and shit. All kinds of dumb excuses and claims and whatnot. And unfortunately, I've been seeing a lot of the same with this. There's a lot of people who I've seen actively shame this series, the people working on it, and even people who just enjoy it. And I'm not saying everyone is doing this. There are people who have been talking down on this series who are genuinely just sharing their opinion and are making it clear that it is just their opinion. There are people who are just saying I'm just not into this. I don't think it's that great. It's not investing me like G4 did. And again, that's fine. This is not Directed, that's the word I was trying to think of. This is not directed towards those people. So if you just genuinely aren't into this, but acknowledge that it's just your view and your opinion, you're fine. This is directed towards all the people who are trying to paint this as a fact, who are trying to say that this is objectively worse than G4, who are trying to say that the voice acting is objectively terrible, or the storytelling is objectively terrible, the pacing, the character writing, so on and so forth. This is all stuff that is subjective by nature. None of this can be seen as objectively terrible. That's not how it works. I've talked about this in the past. I've ranted about this in the past. That's not how it works. Quality of media and any facet therein is subjective by nature. You can't say something is objectively bad in terms of all of this media, in terms of the storytelling, the character writing, the voice acting, the soundtrack, the animation, etc., because it's all subjective. It's all based on personal tastes. Some people may prefer shows that have less dynamic animation. Hell, there's some anime out there that I know are extremely popular and are known for having less dynamic animations, such as Ping Pong the Animation, for example. That's a big one that people love. I haven't seen it, so I can't say personally, but I know a lot of people love that series, and yet the animation is super simplistic and basic, like very basic. Yet it doesn't stop it from being appealing to people, because it's otherwise something that they find good. But I've seen plenty on Twitter people shaming others just for liking this. And trying to tell people, it's like, why do you like Pip, for example? Just as a note, because Pip is my favorite character. Just using that as an example for G5. Why do you like Pip? She's terrible. She's cringy. She's horribly written. And it's like, you shouldn't like her. That just makes you look bad. I've literally heard that kind of thing being said. And it's like, are you stupid? Like, you have to... There has to be something up for you to think like that. To be that void of any sense of common decency. Like, that's just not a thing you say to people in the first place. That's not how you act towards people. You don't tell someone that a character that they like is terrible. And you don't try to shame them for liking that character. I mean, for one thing, you don't know why they might like that character. It might be an important reason. It might be because of some deep emotional connections. They might strongly connect with the character in a way that is important to them. Because I fucking damn well know that there's plenty of characters that I do that with. There's a shit ton of fucking characters that I connect on a very deep personal level with. And because of that, they mean a lot to me. And they may not always be my favorite characters of the show that they're in, but you get the idea. They still matter to me. And just because you don't like them, which you're fine to have that opinion, that doesn't give you the right to shame someone else for liking them. For all you know, that could be a comfort character to them and might be extremely important for their mental health. I see people saying this kind of shit all the time. And it mostly stems from the idea that G5 isn't on the perceived same level of quality as G4. That's their biggest argument, that it's not on the perceived same level of quality that Friendship is Magic had. Which again is completely subjective, by the way. But the entire thing that they need to realize here is, if you expected, make your mark, if you expected G5 in general to be just like G4, just like Friendship is Magic, that's on you. Because if you expected this to just be a clone of Friendship is Magic in terms of, perceived quality, then you're kind of dumb. This was never going to be the same in terms of perceived quality, because it's a different show. Yes, it is a continuation of sorts. It takes place in the same universe, the same continuity, the same timeline, just much later down the line. But it's still a different show, run by different people, starring different VAs, etc., etc. It's not going to be the same. Going into this expecting another Friendship is Magic is stupid. You're not going to get it. You're literally setting yourself up for pure disappointment there, because you're not going to get that. It's the same issue that came up with The Legend of Korra. People only compared it to Avatar: The Last Airbender just because, it's in the same universe. It's a sequel series. It takes place in the future, but even features some of the same characters. It's like, it's basically, this is basically the Legend of Korra equivalent for My Little Pony. And the issue there was, there was the same showrunners and all, but there was also a lot of staff who were new, and a lot of writers who were new, and a lot of voice actors who were new. They were doing a lot of new things. They literally were trying to take it in a different direction than Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was never going to be the same. The issues that were faced were never going to be the same. The villains were never going to be the same. That wasn't the intention. And yet people just compare it because it's in the same universe, not understanding that it's still technically a different show. That it was never going to have the same quality as The Last Airbender, but rather was going to have its own quality. That was going to be different. That was going to be unique to it. That wasn't going to have to rely on Avatar: The Last Airbender, but rather forge its own path. And it's the same shit happening once again. Just because it's in the same universe, people assume it has to be the same show. That it has to have the same level of perceived quality, that it has to be a copycat, a clone. And that was never going to happen. And it bothers me when people act like this. Because it bothered me with Legend of Korra. Because people refused to see all of the value that Legend of Korra had for the themes and messages it was telling, because of it wasn't living up to The Last Airbender to them. And again, if they just didn't like it, just on a personal level and everything, for whatever reason, that's fine. But it's the way they handled it. It's the way they expressed it publicly. That's the issue here. It's that public expression of that dislike and treating it as if it's just something that can't be denied, and that's not the case. And again, I want to make clear, I'm not saying that you have to love it. I'm not saying that you even have to like it. You don't have to agree with me either on its perceived quality. I think it's fantastic. I think this series has been absolutely great. I think the writing has been great. I think the character work has been great. It's different than G4. It's very different. But it's, in my opinion, still great. And that's just as valid as of an opinion and just as real of an opinion as someone saying that it's bad. And all these opinions should be taken into account. And that's why I constantly tell you guys on the channel that I am just sharing my views, my thoughts on these shows, these movies, etc. Everything that I react to. It's just my personal thoughts. You don't have to agree with me. I actually encourage you to not just agree with me. I encourage you to form your own thoughts based on your own viewing experience. I encourage you to watch it yourself and determine what you think of it. To not let other people's opinions influence your own. I mean, it's the big problem with the critic industry right now. I guess you would call it an industry. It's why you can't really take film and TV critics seriously, because they form their opinions before they even see the movie, and most of the time based off of the opinions of others who have seen the movie already, whether through early screenings or whatever else have you. Sometimes they just form those preconceived notions from trailers and shit. Because, yeah, there's never been a great movie that just happened to have a bad trailer before. Or vice versa. But the point I'm trying to make with this big old rant, and I'm sorry this is taking so long, is that, again, form your own fucking opinions. Don't let anyone influence what you think of a show, a movie, a game, anything. And don't let anyone tell you you're wrong for liking something. Don't let anyone tell you you're wrong for what you enjoy or what you don't enjoy. Don't let anyone tell you you're wrong. It's your opinion, and as long as it's not actively hurting anyone, as long as your enjoyment of something is not like rooted in bigotry or anything, then you're fine. Like, obviously, if you're liking something because it puts down someone of a protected group, then yeah, that's fucked up. That's not okay, because that's just bigotry. But if it's just an opinion and you just don't like a film, or you do like a film or whatever, because of your own just personal views on it, your own personal tastes, that's fine. It's something that we all need to work on, and that includes me. Because believe me, I've fucking done this. I have done this myself, and I regret doing it, but I have done it, and not even just well in the past. I've done it in more recent times too, and I have to work to better myself in that regard. That's what being human in my eyes is all about. Bettering yourself, learning, growing, changing. That's part of the human experience. So again, I want to make it clear. If you do not like this series for whatever reason, that's fine. If you like it for whatever reason, that's fine. If you hate it, if you love it, if you're neutral on it, doesn't matter. That's fine. You're allowed that opinion. Just watch how you treat that opinion. Watch how you express it publicly. Don't treat anyone as if they're wrong for having a differing opinion. Don't shit on them. Don't mock them. Don't belittle them. Treat people like people. And just stop being an asshole about it. There's way too much of that in fandom communities, and we need to put a stop to it. So again, I do apologize for how long this rant has ended up being. But again, I've been seeing a lot of this on social media regarding this series. I've been seeing a lot of it, and it's been bothering me. And it comes with no surprise, and it should be pretty clear that what I say on these shows is just my opinion. I never want to try and influence you. I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong if you disagree with me. I'm just sharing my opinion on these episodes, on the show, etc. And if you disagree, that's fine. You're allowed to. And please comment on it if you do. Just be nice about it. Don't be a dick. That's all I ask. But we're going to get into this because, again, I've ranted way too long on this. And I apologize. I do. But we're going to get into this episode now. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this was an interesting episode that touched on some legitimately really good themes, especially in regards to how you handle others' perception of you. And it touched on that both in regards to the A plot with Sunny and her alicorn transformation, and in the B plot with Pip and Sparky. So let's talk about the B plot first. Let's get that out of the way. So Pip decides to take on babysitting duty for Sparky because she's facing a dip in attention on social media, which, because it's Pip, she's obviously broken up about that. Because her attention has taken a little bit of a dip, which is normal, as I said in the reaction, you're going to face that when you're a celebrity, or if you're like a big name YouTuber or Instagram model or whatever else. You're going to have your highs and lows. That's just how it goes. And some people may have lows that last a little longer, or they might have lows that are just like little moments, little blips in time. It's just, and some of them might be bigger lows than others, but it's just kind of whatever happens. And we see with Pip's story here is she's trying to figure out why Sparky is getting attention on social media and getting all these likes and views and stuff for just, doing baby stuff. She tries to emulate it, but it's not working. And the big lesson of this B-plot is that she has to be herself and not worry about how others perceive her. she has to be happy with who she is, learn to laugh at herself, learn to just not try to be a perfectionist. And this all kind of wraps together in the idea that she has to not focus so much on what others think of her, and instead on what she thinks of herself, which is an amazing lesson. And we kind of get that with Sunny as well, because in the A plot, Sunny is dealing with an entirely different problem. She's dealing with a surge of popularity, the kind of the opposite of what Pip is going through. Because whenever she turns into her alicorn form, everybody suddenly wants to listen to her, despite having no interests otherwise in her issues that she's bringing up. She brings up the issue of, oh, we're eating too much junk food. We should introduce more healthy eating, bring in a community garden and stuff, which is a fine thing to aim for. I talked about how in the reaction, I talked in the reaction about how I like junk food. I do. I love junk food. It tastes good, you know? But I also mentioned that, yeah, I love good fruits and veggies. Like, I can snack on apples easily. I love apples, or strawberries, or bananas, or whatnot. And there's plenty of vegetables I love. I love broccoli, I love cauliflower, I love Brussels sprouts, I love spinach. It's like, yeah, I could easily do smoothies even. Smoothies are great. But it's like, I also love junk food. And you can have both. You can still have junk food. And I don't think Sunny was necessarily arguing against that. It's just like you need to have healthier eating as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that she's passionate about this and wants this for her community is great. And then with the community garden, I think that's a fantastic idea. Just everybody taking part in it and all. But as we see, whenever she turns into her alicorn form, people suddenly start listening to her. People suddenly start focusing on her just because they want attention from the alicorn. She's something special. She's something flashy. She's something important in their eyes. Important enough to get this group of influencers, Fabulous Four or whatever, which apparently the fourth spot is always rotating, and during this episode it's Misty, which is interesting. And I guess the de facto leader of the group is she was the one pony from the movie who was modeling Phyllis's products and everything. So that's fun. But we see that they're even trying to like use her for clout and everything as well, and it's like we see that that's never really resolved either. And I actually like that. Some people might not, but I think that's a good idea. By having instead the resolution revolve around Sunny's direct friend group and their assistance in helping her create this community garden. Because it's more realistic. She never gets through to the crowd. She's never able to turn them around. All they care about is the fame, the popularity, the excitement factor of the alicorn status. And so she's never able to get through to them and get her messages and ideas and goals like to work through them. But that's when her friends come in and they tell her that they don't care about all of that to them she's the same pony either way. And they even show her a surprise they made for her. They built her the community garden she wanted. And show that sometimes not everybody's going to side with you at all times. And that sometimes people are only going to side with you if they get something out of it in return. but that if you have a good, strong friend group, that they'll always be by your side, no matter what, that they won't expect something in return, that they will just be there for you. And so I like how that was handled. The part of Opaline being the fake inner alicorn in the mirror and everything was a little, I feel almost needless. Like it was making Sunny a little more anxious and everything, but it didn't quite like lure her into like a negative spiral of things. Like it could have, I feel like if it was like more focused on the entire time with more of just that, they could have like done something where it's like, oh, she starts to become like even aggressively mean or something, and become obsessed with the fame and with being an alicorn and all, even to the point where maybe she would fake it or something. But it's, and maybe even push away her friends a little bit. But they didn't go that route. Instead, it's just kind of like an extra level of anxiety that is pushed onto her. And it's interesting, too, because it seemed like Opaline was doing this because she seems to value her alicorn status. And it was like she was trying to manipulate Sunny, which she openly said. And I think she was trying to get Sunny on her side almost. Because her alternate goal at the end there was like, okay, we're not going to get her, we're not going to be able to manipulate her anymore. Okay, let's just go back to our plan of stealing the magic and all. And it's like, so you were trying to get her on your side. You were trying to manipulate her enough to where she would put her alicorn status above everything else, and that would allow her to side with you? That seemed to be the goal, which would be interesting for sure. But also, this is the first time I think that Misty has interacted with any of our main five. So that's really interesting too. I wonder what that's going to mean going forward. The fact that she's now known by them, or at least by Sunny. I would just wonder how that's going to affect things. But we'll see. We'll see. I enjoyed this episode, though. It touched on some really interesting and important lessons and ideas. I really think that this was the, out of all of the episodes we've gotten so far, this was the one that nailed the idea of bringing in these deeper themes the best. Not that the others didn't do that at all, but this one definitely did it the best. I would not say it's my favorite episode so far, though. I would still say that's the last episode. But we still got like half a season to go, so let's see how it continues to go next time. In the meantime, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? And as I made clear in the pre-thoughts, if you think differently than me, that's perfectly fine. Just please be respectful about it. But all of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.